The first question I wanted to ask was, you have a counterintuitive perspective on managing your teams. And so I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about your perspective on growth and
Mm,
encouraging people on your team to move on. Because I think that element is something that at first glance is not like the quote unquote typical way, like managers would say, oh, we want to keep teams, especially now when everyone's trying to hire. Bring us into your thought process and your management approach there.
I tend to think about it as just really pragmatic. Everybody wants to grow in some way, and most people, in order to do that sort of growth, they can't stay in one place, right? I know this is the truth for myself, so why would it not be true for my team? And so I really try to normalize that. When someone joins my team, I try to spend a fair bit of time with the expectation that you are not going to be here forever. I hope you are here as long as I can keep you, as long as our journeys kind of go together. But at some point, whether that be a year, 3 years, 5 years, you're gonna outgrow this. That's just the nature of work. And so I like to be really upfront about that. And I also like to prepare for that. So and I do that in kind of two ways. One is with my engineers is that I know you're gonna want to grow. I want you to grow. So let's have proactive conversations about what that looks like for you. And that can run the gamut. Sometimes it's just really about skill acquisition. So, like, I had an engineer on when I was managing a front end team who really wanted to get more into mobile development. Okay, so how do we give you opportunities to stretch kind of that muscle in a space that you don't know about? That's something I would think about skill acquisition. I've had other engineers who are like, I'm really bad at public speaking. I want to be able to hold like a conference talk and I don't know how to do it. Okay, let's start with me and then we'll move to a team meeting and then maybe we'll move to an all hands and we'll work up to it. And then, of course, the proverbial, I want to be a manager, which is always like, do you know what we do? I mean, you think you might want that. And so that one's a little trickier, but in a much longer process. But again, it requires some kind of forethought and effort. And so all of this really is predicated on this is going to happen. So why don't we just do it together? you know?
Confronting the inevitable in a really
Right? I
honest
like
way.
that, confronting the inevitable. Yeah, exactly.
So is this like a upfront expectation set in the first conversation?
Yeah.
When do you have that growth conversation?
I don't do it right away. I usually wait the first quarter, like let you get your
Hmm.
feet kind of under you. What I do like to do though is let them know it's coming. So when we've gotten to that stage, then how I introduce it is like, hey, for the record, I'm someone who cares a lot about growth. And I think it's important. And I think we should talk about it and we should be very explicit about it. So I want you to think about what are the areas, what do you want to grow? What do you want to learn? What do you want to do? I'm not asking for a 5-year plan, but what direction? I don't even know. Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be a technical leader? Do you want to be a people leader? Do you want to I've had a lot of engineers who are like, I really just like doing what I'm doing. And I'm like, that's great. So think about that. In our next one-on-one, I'm going to ask you, right? So you have 2 weeks and it's okay if you don't know right away, but
Yeah.
this is kind of the moment that we're going to start talking about this. One other thing that I think is also really important in this is I also really try to set the expectation that, hey, we are partners here. I'm not driving your career bus. I can't do that for you, right? But I can be an excellent navigator. I can tell you, oh, you should make that right over there. I don't think it happens as much with senior engineers. Generally, they kind of know what they want to do in some fashion. Some are really buttoned down and some are like, ah. But there has been times where they're like, I don't know, you tell me what to do. And I'm like, I can't really tell you what to do. I need you to tell me what you need and then I can support that. So I think it is actually really clear to get that expectation out so that they're not looking to me to kind of solve that for them. I'm a facilitator.
When did this become a conscious priority for you as a part of your regular interactions with your team? Was there like a personal experience where somebody maybe had that explicit conversation with you? When did you realize like this is the important thing that I want to make sure every person I'm managing or leading has this conversation?
That is a really great question. I don't know if I have one like originating point, but I guess there's two things I would say. One is earlier in my career, I had the fortune of working in places where people in senior leadership identified me as someone to invest in. And so I remember I was working as maybe my second tech job, and I had come in as a contractor and then I got hired on full time. And I'm a completely self taught engineer. So I have a degree in international studies in German, but not coding, right? So I've kind of gone roundabout into this career.
You were home. Jerry's a geologist, or was
Oh, nice.
it?
Yeah, I only find one other person that does the same.
A geologist?
Yeah, among all the people I
Yeah.
talk to in our industry.
I know I have my whole bias about that too. About that. I was like, I think I'm a better engineer because I have that background. But that's ooh, spicy. But I remember I was at a Christmas party and our director had sat at our table and we ended up talking with him. There's four of us for like an hour. And that's the first time I'd ever spoken to him. And that was it. And then the Monday morning there was this big hush meeting. There was like a new initiative that was starting. And at the last minute, I had gotten added to the invite. And I'm like, what is this? My boss is like, why are you going? I was like, I don't know. Like, I just, And I remember kind of going on, we were going to totally build this whole new platform. It was, again, pretty hush. And my director turning to my boss and being like, she's smart. Find something for her to do on this, basically. Right. And so I've definitely had people intervene in my career. And so I think that for me this is a certain way of paying that forward, having a predisposition to say, oh, how do I help you? I think a part of it is too, I haven't yet forgotten what it's like to be an individual contributor and kind of be flailing and not knowing that you're driven in a certain way, but you just don't know how to get there. And it's really just kind of a question of altitude. I can see more than my engineers and my directors can see more than me and the VPs can see more than them. Like when you look across the org and these things just don't happen if you don't have that kind of help. And so I don't think there was really just one thing. It's just kind of like this conglomeration of experiences that made me say, hey, I want to make sure I'm a multiplier for the people that I'm leading.